Doctor Strange.
I always suspected this day would come.
Because you always suspected this day would come.
I'm ready. This is the only way.
What has been the biggest change for you with this character since you started, and now obviously you've progressed quite far with this character? What's been the biggest change?
I think, well, a lot. I mean, it's been a quick progression without a sort of a check-in to see who he is doing all these omnipotent, omnipresent, all-knowing things. And I think this film's very much about examining, has he really changed? And the answer is not much, because while he swapped the scalpel for the mystic arts, he's still driven by this ego that thinks he's capable of controlling it all. And in many ways, subtly, in a very crowded marquee of different characters and events, so we are going into the multiverse after all, he comes up against that. So that's the development you see in this film, for sure. So, and he realizes he can't do it all on his own, basically.
Right. Do you see the variants as sort of other versions of Strange where certain personality traits maybe won out over others? Is that kind of how the characters differ?
Possibly. You will have to see the film.
Okay.
All I will say is I don't believe in heroes and villains or goodies and baddies. I never think it's that cut and dried. It's just different people making different choices with different outcomes.
So there's that nuance is what you're looking for in each variant.
Very possibly. You'll have to wait.
You're very good at this. It's like you've done this before.
About 7 times, yeah.
Obviously this one, Wanda's, kind of coming up into her own a little bit. We've seen her character go on quite a journey as well. What was it like kind of putting Doctor Strange up against or with her, that foil? How did that change?
Pretty exciting and pretty explosive. It's an amazing dynamic that they build between them, and two very powerful characters, supremely powerful, but they're a great team up. And to work with Lizzie is just, that's an actor's dream. She's just a delight. She's sort of radiates light from within, and also gets a lot of lovely lighting from a DOP as well. So she kind of glows through this film. And but really it's her personality. It's just like every single time she's on set, it's a joyous day at work, because she's funny. She's the first person as well not to take herself or it too seriously. And yet when she's doing what she does it so well. It's kind of mesmerizing.
In terms of, obviously this film, you've got Sam Raimi on. How did that change the dynamic, or did you just dive in and do the work?
Quite big, quite a lot. I mean, it's very much a Sam Raimi film. And so those who, used to his filming style of some years ago, there's a lot of nostalgic hits in here. The kind of schlock horror, the jump cuts, the camera motions and movements. A lot of his signature visual style is there. So I think Sam Raimi fans are going to get a lot out of this.
When I spoke to him yesterday, and we talked a lot about the kind of balance between practical and CGI, how much of that for you is important in terms of your ability to kind of tap into the character?
Sam's quite old school. He acts a lot on screen, which is fun. There were there were cars flipping for real in camera in the same shot as me, and that's often stuff done in the magic of the back room afterwards. But it helps. And also Charlie Wood is an incredible production designer who creates a lot of real world atmosphere and effect and environment to play off. So yeah, you have to check out and look at the horizon and the sun and the real world every now and again when you're surrounded by blue or green. It's very disorientating, but it's all child's play. It's all smoke and mirrors. Whatever reality is being provided, you still have to act your way through stuff that's just not your lived experience or real, for want of a better term. So yeah, sometimes you have to go a little further in these films, and in your own audience, you can just be amazed at quite what it is that you were acting against or with or amongst.
Is there stuff when you kind of get, obviously you've been working on A Strange for so long now, but when you got this script, was there growth? What was that growth like, and how did you tap into your, like you're saying it's not your lived experience, but what from your lived experience do you bring to that character development?
I only get frustrated when I don't have a challenge, and when I am not able to roll my sleeves up and meet it with what I am trying to do in my craft at general, which is just diversify it and grow it and challenge it and reinvent and continue to examine my process and all those things that are very boring for people to listen to actors talk about. But and if I'm not being used, I feel like a kind of car sitting in a garage, as you would say, I think.
I live here, so I could say.
I know, but you have the accent, so I thought, but I think that's the most difficult thing in a way. And I mean that happens anyway on a big film like this, because you're waiting a lot of the time, obviously, to then turn up and do it 100 miles an hour. But that's a different muscle line. You get used to that. It's a nice. I don't mind that challenge as long as what you're being asked to do is testing and that you can really try and better your craft.
I guess just to dive in, what has been the biggest change for you since you started playing Wong many years ago and now finding yourself in Doctor Strange 2?
Yeah, it's been a massive journey for me. You know, I mean, if I go all the way back from being 14 years of age and just sifting through the comics at Odyssey 7, collecting all my Spider-Man comics, to kind of cutting to learning to be an actor, enjoying telling stories, meeting Stan Lee, and now, you know, becoming Wong, this no-nonsense midfield general librarian. And through the course of these 5 movies, yeah, this character progression where he's become now the Sorcerer Supreme, picking up the gauntlet and with a far greater responsibility ahead of him. And that's where we're at in this film.
Are we going to get to see a lot of Wong as the Sorcerer Supreme?
Very much so, yeah. Yeah.
That's great. I love it. Every time when he shows up in Shang-Chi, I was like, it's Wong. Like your character just brings a kind of depth to the films, I think, because it's like you said, he's no nonsense. He's grounded in this very kind of larger than life world, and it brings a sort of reality into it a little bit.
Gabriella, thank you. Welcome to, you are Wong Taraj member number 48.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah, I've loved it, and and it's you know, within this movie, it's almost like you've got, from what we've seen from WandaVision and No Way Home, it's like both these productions have sort of converged, and all roads are leading to this our wonderful film.
Have you felt kind of that responsibility of making sure? Obviously, there's like a lot of continuity stuff that has to make sense over the breadth of the MCU, but then there's also the service to the character. And have you felt a kind of responsibility? How do you balance all those different things?
Well, the service to the character, the issue with that, we had sort of issues with it very early on from the original material, you know, where it began like something like kind of quite servile, tea-serving, you know, librarian. And, you know, my opening gambit when I first arrived, and to talk to Kevin and Stephen Brassard at that time was, you know, that's not what I'm into doing. And, you know, they were completely like, no, not at all. And we were all on the same hymn sheet. And just, for me, it's just been a catalogue of sort of surprises for me, you know, to see where this character progression goes. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what happens next.
What was the most challenging, obviously now with the multiverse and stuff, what was the most challenging and I guess demanding part of filming the sequel?
It was a long shoot, you know, and obviously during the time with all the restrictions that was happening, you know, it was almost, you know, I was going to call this film the madness of the multi-schedule, you know, and it's a full credit to everyone involved in the film. You know, we worked so hard. At certain times, you know, so many different scenes were changing constantly, and you know, we've got there now, and you know, we're happy to see this film set sail now.
In terms of, obviously, you've worked with Benedict Cumberbatch before, and how much has your relationship changed or developed off screen, and how is that reflected in terms of your character work, or is it at all?
He's a passing ship, isn't he? He's everywhere, that guy. He's everything, everywhere, all at once, I think he is.
I saw that last night. Oh my God, I saw it last night.
Right.
Oh, it was so good.
Oh, I've only managed to see the trailers. I'm dying. We don't have it here yet at the moment. It's not released. But
oh yeah, that's right. I'm thinking
yeah.
you're in America and I'm in London too. Yeah, anyway,
right.
Yeah.
But no, it's been great. You know, whenever we get to dance on screen, you know, it's you know, they're a sort of chalk and cheese couple, aren't they? You know, because like one's the wiser one, and he's kind of trying to rein the sort of wayward Strange, right. And you know, there's kind of, you know, obviously what he's done now when casting this spell, which has kind of created all these cracks through these parallel realities. You know, all these characters are all coming through now, and you know, I'm picking up the trail of his chaos that he leaves behind.
Right.
So, you know, yeah, it's kind of they clash heads, but they obviously need each other as well.